Right, here we are. It must be Wednesday, Energy Wednesday. And here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy, that's the way I see it.
That's right.
It's a determinative factor. I can do that again. That's Sharon Moriwaki, she's my co-host, and we're having a good time here on Energy Wednesday. And we have Crystal Kua, who is the External Affairs Director of First Wind. We haven't had First Wind on in a while, so we are very happy to see you here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Crystal. So the first thing, I guess, is to make a quick report, okay, on what happened today in the Ledge. Because it was one of those very special hearings where the parties were, I think they were called down to report to a triple committee.
Invited.
Yeah, invited, pardon me. A triple committee of the two energy committees and maybe another one.
Consumer protection.
Consumer protection.
And economic development.
Make that 4 committees in one room. Wow. Wow. It's a good thing they had good security, what can I say? Who are the chairs? Mike Gabbard and Chris Lee for the energy. Liz Baker, Roz Baker from Maui.
Angus McKelvey.
And Angus McKelvey. Powerful. Room was filled with people.
It was packed.
Packed. You guys were both there.
Yes.
You too.
I was there, I squeezed in the back of the room. I peered, I sort of carved my way.
You had to fight your way
view
through.
channel, and I watched for a while until I sort of got the smell of what was going on. So, but how about a report? Let's start with you, Sharon. What happened?
Well, I thought the questions were very pointed by the legislators. They really were trying to get the NextEra, especially and HECO, to look at various kinds of concerns that the community might have, whether it's jobs, whether the billing was going to be here or offshore, and the kinds of rates that they would be charging. LNG was on the table, so was the cable. So they really tried, everybody had their angle and concern, and I thought that they really put it all on the table. So they really tried to, I guess, do a precursor to the Public Utilities Commission, who will have to look at the final deal. Yeah. But I think both Alan Oshima and Eric Gleason handled it very calmly and very well, and tried to address as much as they could. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what was interesting about the hearing was the depth of issues I think the legislature was interested in, and on the heels of the HECO NextEra filing at the PUC tomorrow, and all the other energy issues, including confirmation of the new PUC commissioner coming up this session. I think there's just a host of issues coming up related to energy this ledge session.
It's going to be an energy session.
This is the state of energy, might as well be.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, we had our legislative briefing only last week.
Last week, yeah.
Ooh, seems like ages ago.
Yeah.
One of the things was we had this integration panel. And the integration panel was supposed to integrate everything set up to that point and make recommendations, personal recommendations, based on their knowledge and expertise to the legislature. And one of the things I expected would come up, which I was wrong, was a recommendation of legislature: keep your hands off this, at least for a little while. Give it a honeymoon. Let them come forward and tell you. You don't have to go, create hearings like where you invite people down. and nobody made that recommendation, but even if they did make that recommendation, I don't think the legislature would listen. 4 committees is right, it's kind of a record or something, and they're all very curious because obviously it is the biggest deal that ever hit Hawaii.
That's true.
Ever
That's true.
hit Hawaii.
That's true.
4.3 billion, so we can't possibly keep our hands off it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I hope at least they give a little breathing room to the PUC to do its job. I hope the PUC looks at the record of what was said today, because that would be helpful.
I think they should be looking at the record, especially on affordability and impact on the community. Those are 2 really important issues, that should be covered by the PUC.
Yeah. So, Crystal, is First Wind going to say anything? Is going to intervene or anything?
I think we're still looking. We're waiting to see what the filing says. We're really looking forward to, if this goes through, to work with the new utility. But like everyone else in Hawaii, it's a very important issue. We are going to be probably looking at some of the issues that come out in the filings and then make our determination at that point.
Okay, you'll talk to us then.
I will, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, let's go forward to the Negawatt Moment, which we do every single week. We do it here in our special place called the Speaker's Corner. And we do it with Rob de Veriterra, well, actually with Rob de Veriterra and other people that he works with in order for them to tell us what's going on at Hawaii Energy.
I'm not here every week, but it's a treat when I
Well, you hear the
get to be
spirit.
here.
I always sort of see your image back there, you know.
Oh, okay.
Sort of,
No.
you know. So anyway, now you're making a personal appearance. This is a special week for Hawaii, the state of clean
Yeah,
energy.
it's the first time on camera. Before it was just off camera.
You look
so-
pretty good. What do you say,
Hey, looks
ladies?
good.
You look
Hey,
pretty
Rob.
If I could whistle.
We're happy.
All right, anyway, thanks for having me, Jay. So as we do every week, we're doing the Hawaii Energy Negawatt Moment. And for those that don't know, Hawaii Energy is the ratepayer-funded energy conservation and efficiency program for Hawaii, Lanai, Maui, Molokai, and right here in Oahu. So today we're going to talk about solar water heating tune-up. Solar water heating tune-up. It's a rebate for $150. And so basically the way it works is, like any major investment, it requires maintenance. A solar water heater is no different. And the reason we're bringing it back is we had it last year for about a four-month window. We got a huge response. About 826 people took
Wow.
advantage of it, and that's worth about $124,000. So we want to bring it back and encourage more people to get their solar water heaters tuned up. The deadline to apply for it is actually on May 31st of this year. So we want to encourage more people to do that. And typically, when you tune it up, it costs anywhere from $300 to $500. So that $150 really goes a long way to offset some of those costs. In terms of maintenance, every 3 to 5 years, it should be maintained, and they check for different things like leaks and corrosions. And the other thing too is when you properly maintain it, you can last to about 15 years or more. So you want to take care of it just like your car, if it's changing the oil or changing the tires. And solar water heater is no different. And actually, if you don't take care of it, those savings can gradually diminish over time. And in terms of qualifications, everybody who is an electric ratepayer on the islands that I mentioned, Hawaii, Lanai, Maui, Molokai, and Oahu, can take advantage of it. You just need to be a ratepayer. The only thing is if you took advantage of it previously, last year, you're not eligible now, only because you should do it every 3 to 5 years. And so, yeah, we encourage everyone to do it. We also have another rebate. It's a $1,000 instant rebate. You get it right when you purchase it to purchase a whole solar water heating system. So either get the tune-up or you can get the system itself. And we encourage everyone to go to our website, hawaiienergy.com. There they can find a contractor, you can find a participating contractor who will basically do the work, schedule it, and they're the ones that we incentivize to provide the rebate back to.
Well, that was great. That was, what do you say, ladies?
That
5 on
sounds
a
good.
scale of 5?
Five.
Great.
5 on a scale of 5.
Yeah, that's great. Rob.
Okay, that's, now I understand why, why they pay you the big bucks, Rob.
I'm normally behind the scenes, though. So other people can do this better than I can.
But let me just offer some thoughts on what you said. I think it's great that you go back to an incentive that you used to have, and now you want to sort of refresh it. I think remind people that it's still important. It hasn't lost its mojo in terms of clean energy. And I think this sort of points out a bunch of things. I mean, one is you guys have multiple programs.
Right.
And you're always rolling, new ones out and retiring old ones so that you're moving forward with new and creative ideas and trying to incentivize energy efficiency every day. And it's very impressive. And I always say somebody must be up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking of all these incentive things. Must be you.
No, it's a team effort, I think.
Okay. The other thing is that I really like the idea of going back to, back to basics. Because, I mean, nobody has ever, argued against the fact that the conventional solar water heater is the best, most efficient gizmo that ever came down the pipe.
It is. One thing I didn't mention was, in terms of electricity usage, hot water is usually number one. So it's anywhere from 25 to 40% of your overall electricity bill. If you switch from an electric to solar water heater, you can cut it down by that percentage. So it's a huge portion of what most people use.
Yeah, so what it means to me, anyway, is that Hawaii Energy is into the policy of remembering, It doesn't have that kind of corporate amnesia problem.
Right.
It remembers where we started, remembers the good stuff, and it reminds us so that we don't have amnesia either.
Yeah, we respond. I mean, I guess the residents, responded to it very well. So we thought, why not bring it back and incentivize more people who weren't able to take advantage of it last year?
Yeah. Good for you, good for that, good for the, good
Hey, Rob, I
program.
have a question.
Sure.
$150 is quite a lot of money that you're giving as a rebate. So is this, how much does it cost actually to do the check?
For the tune-up?
Yeah, the tune-up.
Yeah, so it's anywhere from $300 to $500.
Oh, that's pretty
Obviously, it will
good.
vary depending on which contractor you go with, but that's a general
Hmm.
range. So it's a good percentage, maybe 25 to 30% of the cost. And it's exactly that. It's a rebate, it's an incentive to encourage somebody, to upkeep their solar water heater.
Very good.
Okay, Crystal, you have any burning cross-examination for Rob?
No,
He
would you?
can handle it.
Can they do my water heater? I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, tell
Check
Crystal
out our
what she
website.
needs to do to get this
So
benefit.
basically, you can go to our website, hawaiienergy.com, and then go to the residential section. You basically just need to find a contractor, and then once you find a contractor, schedule a tune-up, and then they go ahead and do it, and then it will be taken off your bill because we'll be incentivizing that with the contractor.
Great.
Simple.
Okay.
Sounds very good. Easy.
Okay, Rob, how about a smile for the camera? Let's focus in on Rob. Okay, that's Rob the
There
Veriturda.
it is.
Hawaii Energy, we haven't seen him before behind the camera, but now, in front of the camera, now we want to sort of remember him because we're going to see him again, right, Rob?
Appreciate that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks for a great
Uh,
job.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Oh, wow, that was great.
That's
It was
good.
always good to learn about that stuff. And I feel that now we're going to take a break before we go into our, heavy lifting. Okay, ready?
Ready?
Not that
Ready?
heavy.
Heavy lifting, okay. We'll take a short break right now. You'll see, watch.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevlin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every
Change,
Thursday.
you're no longer.
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here with Crystal Kua, she's Director of External Affairs at one of my favorite clean energy companies, First Wind, and Sharon Moriwaki, my co-host here on Hawaii, the state of clean energy. Indeed, we have to celebrate it every day. It is the state of, and we can never forget, and we can never stop our forward momentum, our forward direction in making it the state of clean energy, no matter what happens. Okay, so anyway, the title of our show tonight is, let's see, it's not all about wind at First Wind.
That's good.
Good title.
Yep.
We want to celebrate First Wind. So First Wind has been on these islands for, must be, well, since
2006.
2006. And you had some very good people putting that installation together up on the mountains.
Yes.
Over
Maui,
Maui.
the West Maui Mountains.
West Maui Mountains, and there's a beautiful, Sharon and I went there, it's a beautiful installation up
It
there,
is, it
lovely
is.
place.
Looking down on Ma'alaya
The
Bay and
view.
the
Yeah.
wind
Yeah.
going through your hair and, well, sorry.
Yeah,
But they also
It's
took,
actually two
but they,
phases.
Yeah,
they
two
did-
phases.
They took great pains and the birds and making sure
Right.
that they really had the organic stuff growing and so
Yeah.
forth, sustainable.
We have a habitat conservation plan, and, the effort it took to make that mountain accessible for renewable energy. I think it was a great engineering feat. And for all those who are lucky enough to go up there, it is just a blessing. And, you see the beauty of Maui, you see the beauty of clean energy all in one place.
Yeah, and we saw some biologists up there, I think it was.
Yes.
And they were working on the environment,
Right.
and birds and whatnot, and I said to myself, this has got to be the dream job of all
Oh,
time.
for
Top
biologists,
of a mountain,
Yeah.
you know?
it is, absolutely. It's actually the first place, the first wind project in the country that did a habitat conservation plan. So we were really proud to be able to do that, not just for clean energy, but for Hawaii's unique wildlife environment.
So, when we went up there, I mean, I am still so stoked about wind. I think wind is the best. And then you ran into all these issues. An issue here, an issue there. I wanted to see wind everywhere, and people would say, "Oh, wind makes noise." I said, "To me, it's music. That noise. I love the noise." And it was like it was the first serious clean energy.
Yes,
in Hawaii.
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And since then, we've had 2 more projects, both on this island, on Oahu, and that adds to our portfolio across the country. So we're really proud. And the fact that Kahiava was the first project for First Wind in the country, I think is very special for us as
Well,
well.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, and the way, you know, I think this is instructive too. I forget the guy's name who was the project manager. I don't think he's with First Wind
Paul
anymore.
Gaynor? No.
Was,
Paul Gaynor, our CEO?
no, it was a Howley guy, but I don't
Wes,
remember his name. He was a very nice man and very good at dealing with people. And, you know, of course, the issue was you're putting, you know, windmills on the top of my mountain. I'm not sure I like that. And so he had to do the community thing,
Yes.
and he did a great job.
Yes. I think for us, community is a really important component of what we do to develop any renewable energy project. Just last night, I was at the North Shore Neighborhood Board trying to present information on our solar project, and it's very important to us what the community thinks about the projects, how we can, you know, make our projects better as a result of that feedback. So we try to go into communities really early and talk with them and work with them in order to help get community buy-in early on.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that you have to have that burden though, because, you know, my recollection is in 2008, the whole state was behind clean energy. The whole state. There was no exceptions. It was a part of climate change, the whole climate change initiative, and everyone was excited about it. And somewhere along the line, I can't give you an exact date, somewhere along the line, the clean energy initiative morphed into the cheap energy initiative. And you know, and the energy initiative that didn't leave any footprint whatsoever on the environment. And so now people are not in the same exact place as they were 7 years ago.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, you know, I think for us looking at it from a community perspective, I mean, you know, this is their backyard for a lot of them, and, you know, we want to make it as comfortable a process as possible. I think from what you heard today in the HECO Nextera hearing, you know, price is a very important thing for consumers. And so we definitely believe that this is the right thing to do with renewable energy, clean energy, not using fossil fuels. But I mean, I think different people have different expectations on what that will do for them.
So somewhere from 2008 till now, wind sort of became second to PV. PV, you know, sort of came on board and it got cheaper, more efficient,
Right.
what have you, and people liked the control of having PV on their rooftop, and that sort of convinced them to support PV as a.
No, the incentives are also
Right.
really great
Right,
for
the
the
tax credits.
individual, the tax rate, the ratepayer, right? The incentives, I mean,
Yeah.
if you were hooked up.
Sure, there were incentives to make that
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And you know, there was a time when people talked about these low-rise wind turbines that you put on your roof. I don't think that ever happened. And I think it's because the neighbor next door was going to say something.
Probably.
I can hear it, I can see it.
It was a lot
Even
more
my baby's awake
intrusive
at
than
night, you
having
know.
something on your roof, you know, that they can't see unless you're above them.
So that never got started, really. And so wind has, you know, and then of course the events in Molokai and Lanai, where wind was seen by some developers as the most, you know, the most wonderful way to light up the whole, at least the eastern part of the state. They didn't go anywhere, and I guess those projects are over. I mean, First Wind must see those projects as over, Lanai and Molokai. Yeah.
Well, we are not developing any more wind projects.
You can get a site, as I remember, in Molokai. That was
right,
a big issue.
Right, and I think for us, you know, it goes back to making sure that communities are comfortable with the partnership that they're going to have with us going forward.
Yeah.
I wasn't around for when Molokai was here, but I do know it is important, you know, with especially now that we're doing some of the larger scale solar projects, to make sure that there's community buy-in. I mean, for us, the main thing about wind right now is on Oahu. Oahu is where the demand is, the power demand is, but it's not where the best wind sites are.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other reason why we are moving toward utility scale solar right now, to develop those on Oahu, because that's where the demand is.
So,
And the price has come down.
First Wind isn't going to do wind here?
Well, at the moment, we aren't going to do wind here. I mean, you know, and a lot of it, you know, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, there's no plans for a cable right now, Island cable.
Although, what did he say this morning, this afternoon?
Jury's still out.
Still,
Yeah, Eric Gleason of Nextera said the jury's still out on that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, when you take a moment to remember exactly what went on, he said that that there was not, they were not actually in the same place. That Hawaiian Electric found that it was not economically feasible, and at one point, Nextera found that it was economically feasible, and they were going to look at each other's reports or something, and maybe the jury would come in after a while.
Maybe.
I suspect, though.
I just want to hear why since you had such good community relations as you developed WIN, why you're moving? Is it mainly because there's no resources?
No resources. Like I said, the power demand is here on Oahu. And also the cost of developing solar has come down dramatically because of the price of the panels and things like that. So it's just as cost effective for us to do solar now as it was to do wind, a few years ago. And I think the other reason too is that, people in Hawaii are used to solar panels, seeing them. So I think the sell is not as hard with communities, although we, we want to make sure that every community that we go into has a chance to tell us what they think.
So the community is not so opposed to having a big solar farm next door to it as
and well, I think it's because they understand what solar is about. I mean, I think we are, we're in the early stages of we have 4 solar projects right now on Oahu that we're developing.
Farms.
Yeah, these are all farms. We have 2 under development in Mililani. It's actually 2 phases at the site of the Mililani Ag Park. The first phase is 20 megawatts. The second phase is 15 megawatts. It's at like I said, the site of the Mililani Ag Park, which is surrounded by a residential area. And we recently had an open house on the future site so we could talk to some of our neighbors. And then we have a site that we're calling Waiava, which is Mauka of the H2 near Kipapa Gulch. So it's sort of on the ridge between Pro City and Mililani, Mauka and Mililani area. It's if you know where Pineapple Road is as you're going down the H2 toward the North Shore, if you look up on the right-hand side, on the Mauka side. So we're planning to do 47 megawatts there. It's a pasture land, cattle going right now.
There are cattle there now?
Yeah, cattle there right now. And then we're doing a 50 megawatt project adjacent to our wind farm on the North Shore. So, but in all of those projects, what they all have in common is they all are on ag land. And so we are also developing some sort of either adjacent or sheep ranching as part of our project.
You can use the land for 2 purposes.
Dual purposes, exactly.
I really am fascinated with the idea that what's the one that you talked about in the North Shore, your existing wind site there? Which one is that?
That's Kauailoa. It's on Kamehameha Schools.
I was there at the opening of that.
Yeah. Another beautiful site.
A beautiful site, the Kamehameha Schools.
Yes, Kamehameha Schools land. And so we're going to be doing, there's some fallow old plantation sugarcane they're not doing anything with it, that we're going to put solar panels there.
So these are like brownfields that you could use. I mean, it's not really prime ag land, so
well,
that you can
what it is good for is grazing. So we are going to run
so you
sheep.
can have a shed for the sheep.
Yeah, well, the sheep can use the panels for shelter.
Under shelter.
This is on Lanai they have
Yes,
this.
yes, and lots of places in Europe.
Multiple uses.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we will, it'll help keep the grass down. We don't have to weed eat it. These will be our, livestock weed eaters. And then we will, we'll have a farmer who will ranch it for, we did a market study, and there's a lot of potential for lamb, a homegrown, locally grown lamb in restaurants and markets.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's great. That's a good industry.
So it's a win-win. It's a win for ag.
Too,
It's a win for renewable energy. It's just sort of a little microcosm of sustainability.
And all 3 can occupy the same acreage.
Yes.
When I say all 3, I mean PV and wind.
PV, wind,
as
and
in
ag.
Kauailoa.
And ag.
And ag, all 3. That's really
great.
remarkable.
Yes.
And the more of those 3 that you can get on a given parcel, the better off you are. You have 3 profit centers.
And we heard, I think that was one of the things when we were trying to develop the solar projects, we heard from the community loud and clear that ag was important. But a lot of the good places for solar, what was on ag land because of the amount of land that's available. So we decided that we wanted to do both, and if we could do both, then we decided that on those parcels we will. So in Mililani, we'll be running our sheep, but I think we also have adjacent crops.
You're going to actually run the sheep?
Yeah, we'll have farmers who are.
What did I say?
We'll have
It's not
farmers
all
who run
about
the
wind
sheep.
at first wind. We got sheep at first wind.
Yeah. We'll have local farmers who
That's
will
great.
who will raise sheep on the property. We also have like I said, at the Mililani Ag Park, there's already active crop growing adjacent to where we'll be. There, we have like a partnership right now with the manager at the Mililani Ag Park to be doing that. So we're really
So
excited.
you're contracting out the land to the farmers, or is it a part, how is that gonna work?
Yeah, so part of, there was a new law that was passed in 2014 that allows larger scale solar projects on Class A and B land. B and C
C.
land, B and C land, sorry, with compatible ag. And the law also says that you must give leases to the farmer at 50% of market rate. So this helps. So we think it's win-win because not only do you have affordable farm leases for farmers, but you also have in the construction of the solar farm, we'll be helping with things like fencing, roads, access to water, access to electricity, and that'll help subsidize. That'll help make farming more affordable.
That's great.
So it's sort of a really win-win kind of situation for the farmers and the wind farm.
Say wind.
Win-win.
So I mean, now is it possible to set up these panels in in the farms, the solar panels, so that you have room left in case you decide later, I'm sure, to put wind turbines there on that same land? Because it may be the political attitude will change, the way people see clean energy. Maybe they'll be more tolerant later. And so you could have that as a reserve in your back pocket.
We'll
now.
see. Well, I mean, a lot of it depends on where the resources are too. But you never
Oh,
say
you do
never.
have one
Well,
that has wind and solar.
Well, Kauai Loa will have both.
Yeah,
Kauai Loa will
that's
have-
what I'm thinking of that.
Yeah.
This is sort of an ideal project.
Yes. It has. I mean, it'll have all the components of sustainability on one project area. So we're really excited
that's
about
great.
that.
Well, good for you guys for being
be
so
good model.
nimble. You saw what was happening. You saw how Hawaii was changing. You were right. You were watching it
Yes.
so carefully, and you realized that you had to sort of do what do they call a pivot?
Yep.
It's a pivot locally. But now you haven't pivoted nationally. Can you give us, before we take this break, just give us a little thumbnail about what the company is doing on the mainland or wherever else it's
Oh,
doing.
well, we are pursuing solar in other places as well. So I think our first project was up and running in Massachusetts. It's a small project. I can't remember the exact megawatts, but that was our first project last year in Massachusetts. So we are primarily developing in the Northeast and in the West, which is Utah. We have a huge wind farm, and we're developing solar, and also in Idaho, and we're looking, and in Hawaii. So those are our three main markets, is sort of the West, the Northeast, and Hawaii.
So will First Wind continue to focus on those three markets, or are you expanding to others? or-
Well, we're always looking for different projects to do both wind and solar. I think now the fact that, like you mentioned, we are so nimble, I think the possibility is very good for us to be looking at all these different opportunities. I mean, the other thing that we didn't talk about, is the announcement in November about Sun Edison acquiring First Wind.
Yes, well, I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yeah,
That'll be a corporate change.
that would be but it's a good thing because we'll have sort of a bigger brawny
Right,
sort of company
with
behind us.
expertise in solar.
Expertise and just a lot of resources and I think we're looking forward to that part of.
Sun Edison is into rooftop though.
Well, yes, they're doing some utility scale solar.
Oh, okay, but that's what you're doing.
That's what
Yeah.
You're doing
Yeah.
utility scale.
And I think if you look at when the announcement was made, I mean, part of the acquisition was because of the value of what First Wind is doing as a company, both in wind and in solar. And so I think what happens after the deal closes this in the first quarter, you're going to see the largest renewable energy company globally because of the assets.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, that must feel good.
That's really good, yeah.
You know?
And so that's when you ask about projects, I mean, I think a lot depends on where, you know, after the deal, the acquisition closes, you know, where we go to, and the possibilities are they're limitless.
So that you don't have any problem about large utility companies buying smaller ones?
No, I think it's a good fit for us for our particular situation.
Okay. All right, take a short break, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more about exactly how you make a farm. We want to know. That's Crystal Kua, Director of External Affairs at First Wind, and Sharon Moriwaki, my co-host here on Hawaii, the state of clean energy. And tonight we're talking about, and I quote, "It's not all about wind at First Wind." We'll be right back.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I host a show called Healthcare in Hawaii here on ThinkTech. We get together once a week or sometimes twice a month, depends. When we're busy, we get together less often, but we love to see you here to talk about the preeminent healthcare issues in our state. Our programs vary very widely. We talk about economics, we talk about healthcare, we talk about social issues on this program. Thanks for joining us.
Aloha, Yappers. This is your host, Kingsley, for the Yap Show. Every Friday, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch us here live, ThinkTech Hawaii, and then later on we upload to our YouTube channel. We talk about youth issues, policies, youth programs, and how to transition yourself into adulthood.
But this was like a sign, I guess. Hey, life's like, hey, right. Now's your chance to go back to school, which I'm doing.
Catch us here again live, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Aloha.
Okay, here we are. We're back. We're live. It must be Wednesday because it's Hawaii, the state of clean energy, with Crystal Kua of First Wind and Sharon Moriwaki, my co-host. And I have spent a good part of my day, well, we all have,
Yes, we
in
have.
clean energy. The more people spend more of their day in clean energy, the more clean energy we'll have. You see, it's just logical.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, for a while, in the 7 years, the 7-year itch, as it were, since 2008, for a while it seemed like solar was going to, you know, eat everything else. I mean, solar rooftop. But then, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, it looked like, well, maybe solar farms, you know, can be commended also. And it's funny that that Murdoch in Lanai built a solar farm. Gee, it was 2008 or so. It was right at the beginning of the whole initiative, and it's still there, still functioning, still quite large. In fact, they put a big battery there, an extreme battery, I think. It's interesting, and so that's a big part of the system on. I don't know what Ellison's plans are, but that's a big part, as far as I know, the system on Lanai. And so that was in fact, as far as I recall, that was the first one. The first utility scale solar farm in the state was way back already, and successful. So now it seems like there's greater interest in that, and in a funny way, it's actually more democratic because you don't have that undemocratic thing where you favor the guy with the rooftop because he can afford it, and you make obstacles, and it's hard for the guy in the condominium to get a piece of solar. So now, if you have solar farms, you're having the utility get it directly, as if it were a generating plant, and in a funny way, that's more democratic than what we've been doing with rooftop. So first question is, I guess First Wind, in going into solar, is not going into rooftop solar.
No.
You're doing only the farms, the utility
We're
scale
doing
farms.
only utility scale projects, that's correct.
Okay.
So we are, for us, the first thing that we looked at were sites, which sites, had the best resources. We had monitoring stations on the different sites to see how much sun we were getting. And then we went through, in the case of our projects, we had to go to the legislature to try and see if we could change a law or two. And then we go through permitting. Right now we're through the permitting. And along the way, like I mentioned earlier, we try to bring the community along to let them know what things are, how things are going. A year ago, we went to the neighborhood boards in Central Oahu to let them know things was coming, and we've tried to keep them on board. Once we get all the permits, we'll probably begin construction, either, depending on which project, some of the projects are moving along quicker than the others. By at least the mid-2015, to maybe the latter quarter of 2015, because we're trying to get, like everybody else is, trying to get these projects in operation by the end of 2016, when the federal tax credit
Oh, so you have the
expires.
That's
benefit
right,
of
you
doing
have
that as
deadline,
a,
yes.
okay.
Yes, so I think that's, I mean, I think you'll see all the utility scale solar projects moving along in that timetable.
Yeah.
I think there are, I can't remember, 5 or 6 of them. I think after the Sun Edison deal closes, we'll have another, Sun Edison will have their one project and our 4 projects, so it'll be, one company will have 5 of those
But
moving
you
along.
pretty much know what you're going to do now between now and the end of
Yes.
the tax credit.
Yes.
You know?
That's our
And then
job.
you address the period after that separately.
Yes, I mean, our job right now is to get those solar
Permits.
farms up and running, get the permits, get the construction going, and talk with the community along the way.
So once you get the approvals, what is the time frame, like putting it up from now?
When we start construction should take about a year, which is why we are looking to get them up and running by mid-2015, at the earliest, and at the absolute latest, the last quarter of 2015. So I believe they have to be operational in order to qualify.
Really to get qualified?
Yes,
Ah.
yes.
So when you say a year, you mean a year for all of the projects you just mentioned?
Well, construction will take a
A
year.
year?
Yes.
Yeah, because actually, I mean, I remember we went out to see the one at Kapolei that was done by the company that was a national company that went bankrupt.
Sopuji? No.
No, it wasn't Sopuji. It was a national company, local company that went bankrupt. It was a big board company, or maybe NASDAQ. It was a real success. Anyway, no matter. They built it. And once they got their permits, they built it on brownfield because couldn't use the land for anything else, and it was a substantial project. They built it, and the builder was Forest City,
Oh,
the guys who
right,
actually
right.
put it together, as I recall. But what struck me was that when you got the permits in place and you were ready to actually start construction, it was really fast. Because it's not hard to build these things, physically not hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think our projects are bigger. They're several hundred acres, each of them. So it might take a little bit longer because just the scale of them, it's really big. And we have to make sure that, like even with our wind project, everything connects to the grid okay as well.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. When this one in Kapolei had issues about that, and Hawaiian Electric was demanding certain kinds of connectivity.
Yeah.
And I don't know if batteries were involved, but connectivity was certainly involved. And you had to go through a gauntlet of technical requirements before you could actually build the wind farm. Is that still the case?
I think it'll be a lot easier with the solar farms. One of the reasons is that the transmission lines are right there. So we still have to do interconnection studies, and I think we're in the process of finishing those up right now. I don't think those are going to be a big obstacle to get over. And like I said, because of the location, I think all of the locations are close enough to the transmission lines, and we'll be building, different substations at the site.
So it's incumbent on you to build the substation.
Yes, and then
That's what happened in Kapolei
and then
also.
we turn it over to HECO afterwards.
Yeah, so
Yes.
HECO just takes it from the
Yes.
substation.
Yes.
And all the equipment necessary to smooth out
Yes.
the curve and all
Yes.
that is
Yes.
in the substation you built.
Yes.
Batteries included in these projects?
No batteries here. We'll be able to, I mean, I think, like I said, part of the reason it's going to be easier is because we're a lot closer to the transmission lines. If you look at all of the properties, like we already have the wind farm at the North Shore site, so all the lines and the substation is there already. And then at the Waiava and Mililani, we'll be building a new substation, but the transmission lines are right there. So it's not going to be as difficult to get those up and running. We don't perceive that to be a problem.
So when you go in and you want to build something, I mean, I think this is really important in the future of clean energy in Hawaii, because I believe in wind farms. I believe in wind farms. But when you go in and do this, you First Wind are the developer of the project.
Yes.
You have to get a contractor
Yes,
who is going to actually build it out for you.
that's correct.
In fact, a number of contractors, one
Probably,
part or the
yeah,
other.
yeah.
And you have to get a designer, and you have to get an engineer and all that
Absolutely.
stuff. So you're really acting as the sort of the general on this.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And we sometimes we have some of our folks who are construction experts, sort of overseeing the construction itself, but our developers are usually the one who sort of coordinate all the different pieces that you need in order to make, to get that project up and running, including, working with people like me in the company who do outreach to all the different stakeholders.
Yeah, okay. So when you're done, what are you left with? In other words, when the construction is done, you as a developer, what do you have a contract position on what's going on,
Right.
and you share, or I guess you receive compensation from Hawaiian Electric
Right.
for the power you send them.
Through the power purchase agreements.
Through the power.
Yes.
It's that simple.
Yes.
You, as a developer, you have a power purchase agreement.
Yes.
and that's what you take away from the deal.
Yes, yes. That's how we, that's the agreement we make with the utility that compensates us for generating that power and giving it to HECO to put on the grid. Exactly.
So do you have to maintain the substation, or is that all now HECO's? Once you develop everything, then you can get out of the picture, or do you still have to kind of
Our
oversee?
people operate the plant, so the
okay.
whole facility is sort of like.
So maintenance
working.
is yours.
Yes.
You hire a maintenance
But
company,
I mean,
essentially.
but HECO folks come, I mean, they have access and they need to do what they need to do at
Yeah,
the,
sure, it's
at the
cooperative.
substation. Yeah, but I mean, like, we have our folks on site, cleaning the turbines, who are gonna clean the panels, who are going to probably, work with the farmer to check on the sheep, who mow the grass around the turbines. So, we actually have our own people doing the daily operation and maintenance.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think you're in, I mean, there are other people doing this, of course. You're not the only one, but you're inventing something. You're inventing a new model. Am I
Trying,
right? Yeah.
right. I think that was one of the things that when we went to the legislature that year that they were very interested in, was it was a new model to help agriculture, right? Because of everything. I think they were a little bit, I mean, they sort of are watching to make sure that everything goes okay. But the fact that we can use our renewable energy resources to help agriculture, I think, was a very attractive thing
Sure.
for them.
And I recall that in some of the previous projects, both wind and farms, some of the objections came from the farmers.
Yeah.
And you have to get the farmers on your side.
Well, and that's part of the outreach that we've done in the last year or so is the different farmers, agriculture groups, the Hawaii Farm Bureau, the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Ag helped us with our market study for sheep. So I think we try to bring a lot of people's expertise in order to help us, because we're not farmers, right? So we need the help of the farming and agriculture community to help us with that.
So you're
Here's a
overseeing
problem.
the farming, though. I mean, it's on your property,
It's
so
on, yeah, it's
so
on
a partnership.
Yeah, it's an absolute partnership. That's how we like to see it. Yeah.
So, but here's a question that comes to mind, and that is this. We've had interconnect problems, and obviously the grid can only take so much of these people with rooftop installations of photovoltaic. What about interconnect problems for you guys? You have lots more than any one house, and you're selling under the power purchase agreement. You're selling a lot of power to the utility during the day. There are no batteries at the moment on either side of the equation. What happens with the interconnect issue? How does that affect the whole, grid interconnect question when you come in with lots of power and these other guys can't get in because the circuit doesn't take it? What happens?
Well, our utility scale projects are on the higher voltage lines. So our projects will not impact the immediate saturation problems that you're referring to in the residential areas. So we go directly to the substation. Some of the neighborhood problems have to do with the local residential grids or circuits within their areas. So what HECO has told us is that it shouldn't be a problem when we're putting on our electricity onto the grid because it's a different level of voltage. So we're on the way higher voltage, the larger
More
utility
commercial
voltage.
kind
Yeah.
of,
So I guess what I hear you saying is that the higher voltage and the fact that it's a PV farm instead of a rooftop installation and that you can connect at a different level in the
Yes.
system makes it easier for you to interconnect. I
Yeah.
mean, as an electronic matter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we still have to go through all the steps in order to get it connected to the grid, but if your question has to do with is there going to be an impact with some of the residential challenges right now? No, it doesn't, because we're at a higher level voltage that is not impacting the local circuits.
Good for you. Exciting that you're doing this. It's a great nimbleness. It's a lesson to us all to be nimble. We should be nimble.
We
here.
should-
We should be nimble.
We're going to put that on our shirt, nimble.
Nimble, right.
So do more of these, okay?
We're
We
trying.
want you to. All
We're
over.
trying.
Next, you'll conquer geothermal.
Okay, Sharon, you want to close?
Okay, yeah, I think we had a really good conversation here from Nextera as well as from what First Wind is doing. And I'm really glad to have Crystal here and telling us about wind going beyond wind, First Wind going beyond First Wind, the projects in wind to solar, and for the local ag community. Very good, very good.
Why
Making
do
it
I feel
sustainable.
this conversation so appropriate, you know, in another context also, is here we are talking about another great benefit, you know, of what First Wind is doing, namely sheep. And here we are, just in a few weeks from now, entering into
Oh, the
year
year
of the sheep.
sheep. That's right.
There must be a
It
connection.
must be a connection.
Okay,
Thank you
Crystal
so much,
Kua,
Crystal.
Director of
Yeah.
External Affairs at First Wind. Sharon, Moriwaki, and me, we have enjoyed this, and we found that it's not all about wind at First Wind. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Aloha.
Aloha.